Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your Easter weekend and spent some time with the family. Here is the overall satellite picture this morning after our very potent weekend for severe storms and a lot of heavy rainfall. There is our upper level low, and now it's tracking up across the Great Lakes. It's still got some colder air associated with it. In fact, it's even snowing this morning in Marquette, Michigan. The high is only like 35 degrees up there, but further south, it's the tail of storms that literally extends from Ohio back to Kentucky, all the way through Tennessee, down to Louisiana. Even in Houston's getting some severe storms this morning with a lot of lightning associated with it. But look what happened on the backside of it. You've got crystal clear skies and really nice conditions after a really active weekend. Here's where we stand so far as severe storms for 2025, and it's continued to be active. And in fact, April has been another active month with so far 210 confirmed tornadoes. I think over the weekend between Texas and Oklahoma, we had 17 tornadoes reported. And then yesterday we added another 6 or 7. Of course, the storm, the National Weather Service will be continuing doing those surveys, but nonetheless, it's been very active, and even it was a very active March. So we're well on our way for a record number of year for tornadoes if this keeps up, and we're heading into the most active time of the year, and especially into May as we head into next month. So but the overall setup looks like this. I mean, two distinctive patterns with the overall subtropical jet stream well to the south that's now active. And there is your polar jet to the north. That's what's hanging on to some of the cooler light conditions well north, but further south is the subtropical jet, and that we're going to be seeing these pulses of energy really kind of throughout the week, and these disturbances are going to be coming across with an active dry line that will likely start to get active starting to tomorrow into Texas and Oklahoma, and that will set the stage for almost daily occurrences of rounds of storms across that region. And we'll break it down to you on a day-to-day basis. So here's the setup this morning, and then to the afternoon, we are going to be seeing, more showers and thunderstorms with the leftover ingredients. Obviously not nearly as potent as it was over the weekend, but nonetheless, some of these could be on the stronger side as they fishtail all the way down into the coastline here, and those will be shifting off to the east, weakening as they shift a little bit further off to the east. But overall, this time of year, these are your favorite areas where you typically see severe storms. If you recall, when we started off in the season, it was really active across the Dixie Alley region. Now that has been a noticeable shift out west, and this is where you typically see, as it on April 21st, across Oklahoma and portions of Texas, and that's exactly where we saw the storm activities this weekend. And that's exactly where we're going to see in some of the storm initiation going into the week ahead. So sorry, I have a little bit of a cold here, so I know my voice is a little hoarse. But overall, your dry line is starting to get active as we head into Tuesday afternoon. But notice how far back at west it is. I think these storms really start to originate in far west Texas, and that's exactly where the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted an upgraded slight risk heading into that Tuesday time frame for, say, Midland, the Odessa region, those areas in far west Texas into the western Oklahoma region and portions of Kansas. The dew points are going to be prime as the dry line will start to get active, and we'll start to see showers and thunderstorms to some of these isolated bubblers that will likely be some larger hail producers form off the dry line and then be shifting eastbound. But notice this little pocket of energy up here on the warm front that's going to be lifting back further north, and along that boundary where a low pressure sets up, we could be looking at more storms as we head into that Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening time frame into Iowa as well as into northern Illinois. And if you look at some of the updrafts in the latest high resolution guidance, it's spitting out some pretty potent energy across this region. So don't be surprised. We could be looking at some elevated storms and even an upgrade across that region into Iowa as far as into northern Illinois. And then that pocket of energy along the dry line into the panhandle of Texas and there into West Texas, those will be shifting eastbound into the overnight hours, likely losing its hail producer threat and shifting to more of a wind threat as it forms what they've known as an MCS, this little mesoscale convective systems, as these come across and likely be weakening as it enters Oklahoma and getting into North Texas, going into the overnight into Wednesday morning time frame. But the overall setup looks like this on Tuesday heading into Wednesday. There is the low pressure center that will be lifting further north into Iowa and Illinois, and there's the warm front, and it's really where that warm front kind of sits is where the supercells would likely start to originate. We saw this activity kind of explode with a similar type setup just about 4 or 5 days ago. Then we're looking at some similar dynamics as well. So we got to be concerned about this particular setup, especially as that warm front will continue to surge some of that elevated instability across that region and tap into some of those higher Cape values that look to produce and unfold as we head into Tuesday night, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening time frame. And that will be setting the stage for on Wednesday. We'll have, again, more disturbances, these little short waves that come across. So we're going into an active time frame. This is late April, going into May. So this is a wet month. This is the wettest time of year. So you get these pieces of energy and it almost kind of rains on a daily basis. And that's exactly what's going to happen with this frontal boundary that's going to kind of sit around this region. And these pulses of energy will be draped across with an active dry line out in West Texas. And those will be moving across the central plains, the southern plains, and should start to increase the activity of showers and thunderstorms across the deep south into the south central states into Wednesday, and that just continues into Thursday with a new surge of moisture coming in from the south. And we could be looking at even possibly some heavier rain. Even some of the strongest activity of the week could be unfolding on Thursday, because if you look at some of the precipitable water content values, we're in the 1.7, 1.2 range. Now, that's certainly not off the charts by any stretch of the imagination. But whenever you see 1.5 inch per hour rainfall rates potential in late April, that could add up in a big way, over time, and could produce some isolated flash flooding across this region. And we saw some 9-inch reports northwest of the Dallas-Fort Worth area this weekend with those training thunderstorms. And those are the type of setups you can get this time of year. And we could be looking at some more heavy rain on Thursday, because still, we've got plenty of warmer air around. I mean, it's Easter was yesterday. We're going out of that transitional phase. Every single week we get deeper into April, you got less likelihood of getting cold again. Now you're just going to be on the, I guess, cooler side, if you will. So there's not much colder air to speak of. And you've got a lot of moisture content tapping into that higher heat content, especially when you have a setup like this on Friday, as you get more troughing out west and more ridging into the middle part of the country. And with the supply coming in from the south, you got all the ingredients ripe for an active pattern. And then sometimes those could be looking at some severe storms, even in going into that Friday time frame. Overnight Thursday night, heading into early Friday morning, there's another potential setup for more heavy rain, and some of these could be on the strong to severe side in North Texas, into Oklahoma, through the central and northern plains, all the way further north into Iowa again, through portions of Minnesota. And I think that just continues on Friday with the same kind of similar type setup, is you just got a lot of higher moisture supply. And with those deeper, darker reds, this is the last place you want to see them. And right now, the Weather Prediction Center has already highlighted more of a marginal risk for across northeast Texas, Arkansas, western Tennessee, western Kentucky. These areas have been just inundated, crushed time after time with relentless systems and more heavy rainfall. So this could be more rainfall adding to those flooded, saturated soils across these regions where they just really don't need it at all. And I don't think that stops, because as we head into the weekend, again, we'll be looking at more surges coming in from the south with that water vapor transport index surging that moisture content all the way north into Canada, really, as we'll have that trough come in and out west. And that could set the stage for potentially even a, say, bigger setup this week. So this week, or into next week. So this week, I'm not really looking at any like outbreaks or anything that like anything stretch of that imagination, but we are going to be seeing some severe storms and definitely some heavier rainfall with multiple systems throughout the week. But as we head into next week, it's already kind of looking favorable for more active weather. That's typically what we get. We have a very active week for severe storms. We have a little bit of a lull, and then it comes back with a vengeance every other week. And that's exactly what could unfold late April, heading into that first part of May, with this deepening trough again heading back out west. And that could tap into that Gulf moisture, and that could set the stage for multiple days and even stronger severe storms, you know, as we head into, say, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update while I protect you before and after storm.